inspire young girls to dream big, first we must introduce them to women that they can relate to. I'm Asma Al-Badawi and this is Beyond PE. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our first episode of Beyond PE. Today's episode I'll be talking to Ezdihar, who's a dear friend of mine. Please introduce yourself, Ezdihar, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi Asma, hi everyone. I'm Ezdihar. I play basketball. I've played basketball I think since 2012. I was introduced to the game by Asma herself, and prior to that I was involved very much into netball, and the last let's say I think it was 4 or 5 years I also got into coaching basketball, and even wheelchair basketball as well, so I got involved in that, and at the moment I've just had a baby boy, so I'm not very much involved in sports as much as I used to be, but hopefully getting back into coaching once again.
That's so amazing. So the theme of Beyond PE is the idea that when we're in school, it's compulsory for us to actually play sport. So we're going to the PE lessons and we're around other girls. Sometimes our body changes and we have like so many different obstacles that we actually have to face. So a lot of girls either continue playing sport after PE ends and some don't. So what was your experience of PE in school?
The way I remember PE was, I really enjoyed it. I was the type of girl that would, stay after school in any after school club, whether it's, hockey or even trampolining. I'll stay behind just to kind of get involved in those. And I think it's because obviously I really, really like PE and trying new things. But I remember, for instance, when it was netball, many of the girls would rather stay on the bench, found PE as if it was a chore, whereas for me, I think obviously some girls were like me as well. It was the best thing in that week. It was like to have like 2 lessons of PE. If I could get more, I would. And I think a lot of the girls aren't encouraged to look at PE as something that they can enjoy. It's more of, oh, we just need to get it over and done with, you have to do PE. Even when you have a look at if you remember in A levels, when you get to choose PE as a subject, and if you obviously don't choose it, then you don't get to do it. Most of the students are actually male. You would only get, a couple or a handful of female students joining. This is from my experience. And then I recall, obviously, if you remember when we had Bradford Cobras and we started the club here in Bradford, trying to recruit players proved to be quite difficult for the female club. And I think the perspective they have on PE is very different to what some other girls have, say, like you and I. The reason being is for many things. So it could be their experience, it could be the people around them, it's how they perceive sports as a whole as well.
It's a bit similar to my experience of PE, because I remember like absolutely going to every single sports club they had. Like if it was badminton, I was there. If it was like rugby, I was there. I was like the first one in the line, right? And I think while I was growing up, there were 2 kinds of girls. There were girls that considered themselves sporty and girls that didn't consider themselves sporty. And it was clear that the ones that didn't were like really into makeup and all these kind of different things, but they didn't see themselves as somebody that could still play sports, even if they liked feminine things. So what made you continue playing sports after PE, after it became not compulsory for you to actually do that?
So I stopped playing sports because I didn't choose PE for my A levels. It required other subjects, so I didn't get to do it. And I think it went like for about the first year, it was the first time in my life where I didn't do any kind of sports activities. And I could tell that I was falling into this kind of black hole where it was almost as if I was becoming depressed, and I didn't know what it was or why I was feeling that way. And I could notice even in my grades that they weren't as expected, and my grades weren't what I wanted them to be. And I think I just had this conversation with a friend at that time when I was in my A levels at sixth form, and said, we haven't done PE, we haven't played a sport for so long. We've got an amazing badminton court, we've got an amazing basketball court or netball court, and they're not being used, especially after school. And then we used to kind of sneak out and literally just take like these tennis rackets and tennis balls and just play tennis like without a teacher. But sometimes we'd get stopped and said, you need a teacher there and stuff. So then I remember we used to have to, I had a pick business from one of my subjects, and we used to kind of persuade the teacher there, please, can you come down to the car and play with us? And she'd actually come sometimes and get involved and join. So that's when it clicked, I think, after a year, that actually I was in this kind of black hole, because I had sports for such a long time. And I could see that my self-esteem and my grades were actually getting better. And I promised myself when I start university, I'm going to sign to a club. And in my mind, at that time, it was the netball club. And obviously before that, you kind of came and was like, want to try basketball? So that's
yeah. See, like your experience is literally exactly like what I experienced, because I remember like I finished A levels, and during my A levels, we didn't actually have anything sports related. And I joined the jiu-jitsu club that was like local to our kind of area, and I absolutely loved that. And then when I went to uni, know that there was all these societies that you could join and like literally like compete in all these different sports. And to be honest, even when I was at school, I think because I went to an all Muslim girls' school, I think the teacher didn't think that I would want to kind of pursue this outside of that environment. And so the first like 2 years for me of uni were just this dark hole, like the same one that you're kind of explaining. And then eventually I was like, oh, it's because I'm not playing sports and I love sport. And so initially I tried horse riding. Really loved that, but then I was like, it's way too cold for me. I'm not an outdoor sports person. So then I found basketball and just went to the trial, absolutely loved it, and like never ever kind of like look back,
right?
yeah. And I think while I was playing that year as well, I remember seeing women that were competing against us, and they were in their 40s, in their 50s, and something clicked in my brain that was like, there's no age limit to sport. You can play now, you can be a mom and you can play and you can do anything. And so that kind of like leads me on to this question, like as a mom now, how do you feel like that's going to impact your kind of love for sport? Do you think it will stop it, or how do you see yourself going forward?
It's funny that you asked that question, because I was thinking about that whilst I was pregnant, maybe even before I got pregnant. And the reason being is because I thought maybe I'm going to become distant to what I love doing, and that is to play basketball. And I remember reading this article, and this lady was saying, whatever you love to do, whether that's baking or playing sports or whatever it is, take your baby or babies or children with you. Don't let them kind of put you don't let them kind of trap you in the house just because you're thinking, oh, I need to look after them, or I need to do this, I need to do that. You can do all of that whilst you go out. And I feel like that's been playing my mind, whatever I want to do, my baby shouldn't limit me, because that actually won't just affect me, will affect him as well in the future, because when he sees his mother doing everything that she loves, he's going to be inspired to do the same thing as well. So I mean, I try to take him with me. One of the things that you might be thinking of is like, oh, I need to breastfeed him, or I need to feed him, or I need to change him, why am I going to do all this? make sure you've got something, and you've got to kind of be creative with these things as well, and not to be shy. I think a lot of mothers can be shy or like uncomfortable with with the surroundings. So I think you've got to put yourself out there, which I try to do. I feel like maybe I still need to kind of push myself a little further to do this. But I think it's important to have quite positive people around you as well, mothers who have gone through such experiences. When you start speaking to other mothers, you'll find that they always push you and encourage you to do things. Maybe they've missed out on things, maybe they're just sharing their experience with how things go. So just get involved with what you love, and definitely surround yourself with other mothers with, you know, experience, I'd say.
Yeah. There is this idea that, okay, my life is going to end just because I've seen other people's lives end. I think it's like you said, it's like depends on the individual and how they want to continue their life when they have a baby. So you're visibly Muslim, you wear the hijab, and I'm guessing this is a huge part of your identity. And you're part of the FIBA Allow Hijab campaign with me and the other amazing women around the world. So I've been burning to ask you this question. As a hijabi on the court, what do you think your role is?
Obviously, the aim of being in the game is to win, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm on the court, that's what I'm thinking of, is that I need to win this game. It requires, I think, a deeper answer. It's not just to kind of win the game when you're out there, because as a visible Muslim player, you might have experienced a lot of obstacles. So one obstacle could, you know, the first obstacle you face, you could say, oh shit, that's it, I'm going to take my hijab off. Oh, that's it, I can't be bothered with this, I'm going to get off the court. You know, I can't be bothered with handling all these comments, all these looks. I'm going to forget it, or I'm going to find another spot. So yeah, the question, you know, why am I still playing? Why am I on the court? What's the aim? It's many things, really. Obviously, to win the game, and I think to inspire a lot of other Muslim girls, particularly young girls, because maybe if you remember, Asma, back when we were younger, we didn't. I mean, I personally didn't have any role models where, you know, they wore the hijab, and, you know, even in the Olympics, you'd look in the Olympics and think, oh yeah, there's this lady who's done this, who's done that. And I think because obviously there were a lot of limits back then, and still are, which is why we don't see many Muslim women taking up a lot of sports. So my aim, let's say, essentially is to inspire a lot of the Muslim girls to take up a sport, not to think of it as limiting or stressful. You know, they need to take up a lot of stuff with them if they're gonna play the court. I mean, now, for example, there's so many good sports attire. That's one thing that we don't have to think about, you know, is, you know, a sports hijab or sports burkini or whatever it is. So alhamdulillah, that's one less thing to think about. But I think my main aim is to really kind of inspire young girls, and to get people to ask, you know, who's that lady that's wearing hijab, and why is she wearing it? You know, I think if you remember when you and I used to play basketball, a lot of people would watch, not because I think the game was very interesting maybe, but because we were wearing the hijab, and it was their first time to see a Muslim lady wear the hijab and play basketball. So that's good, because it gets people asking questions, and I'm happy to answer them and talk about Islam.
Completely agree with you. I think sometimes there is pressure, because sometimes you just want to get on the court and play. You don't want to think about all the external things. But for the most part, I feel like when it comes to sport, you don't really have to be loud, and you don't have to actively go out into the world and say, look, I'm doing this and I'm different and you need to do it too. You just need to do the sport, and the people will come into that environment and see you there and tell their friends, oh, we saw a Muslim girl there today, you know, and it was really nice seeing someone from that community. Or if she has a Muslim friend, she might be like, oh, you should come, you know, like.
And I think we
so,
saw that, right? When we
yeah, we
started
did.
to take part, we saw more Muslim girls take part. And I think it's because it's representation. It really does fall into that.
I didn't actually wear the hijab when I initially started playing basketball. So I didn't know about any bans. I didn't know about any of these kind of things. And I saw a girl come and play from Bradford. And I remember thinking, oh, she's wearing a hijab. When I go to Bradford, I want to do that. And I remember telling you, oh, let's go to this basketball training. And I actually remember you saying to me specifically, like, I'm only going to go if you keep your hijab on. That was such a powerful thing for me at the time, because I don't think I thought about taking it off, but it was like a solidarity thing of like, we're going to do this together with our hijab. And the rest is history, like, as they say. So so I think we'll end on this. What kind of message would you want to share with younger girls who are already out there? And what do you want them to take away from your story? And also, where can they find you if they want to get to know a bit more about you?
Okay, I think I'd say to young girls to keep playing sports. Sports is not something that is just for boys or for non-hijabi girls. I think sports is very, very powerful. When I started playing sports, I never thought I would end up where I am today. I think it's, you know, we've traveled a lot with sports. We've spoken a lot about sports. I've managed to speak in front of, I think, hundreds of people. So it's not just something that's there for fun. You know, it teaches you leadership skills. It teaches you communication skills, which is really, really important outside of sports and in sports. So you never know where the road will lead you. And, you know, when you do start playing sports and if you want to become a doctor, you want to become an engineer, whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you have to stop playing sports. Sports isn't just for the professionals, it's for everyone. So I think definitely continue playing, whether it's you're still at university or at school, even after you finish university, take part and even give back to the community. So as Asma's doing, she's trying to get a lot of girls to take part in sports and sharing her story. So I think that's really, really powerful. So encourage one another. And I think it's really important for Muslim girls to see that, because as we said, there's not much visibility of Muslim girls or Muslim women in sports. I mean, better now than before, but we still have a far way to go. And I think that's it. Where to find me? You can find me on Instagram, Ezdihar Abdulmula. It's quite a long name, but I'm sure Asma will put it down. And then our Twitter as well. You can find me on there, Ezdihar A.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ezdihar, for joining me today and for sharing your story. For everyone else, do follow Ezdihar and follow me as well. I will be releasing another episode next week where I'll be speaking to another athlete, and you can get to know a little bit more about Muslim women and the barriers that we face and the challenges that we have gone through to play sports, and also our success stories. Thank you so much for watching, and Assalamu alaikum.